Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Thursday, the 10th of February. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined this morning by Johnny McFarlane. How are we doing, Johnny?
Good. It's great to be here, Derek. I think that's Joshua arriving there late.
The night shift has arrived as well.
Night shift, yeah.
That is very prompt for you two. That's all I'll say. 31, I think I'm normally the first on time, so I won't take too much criticism.
Shocking young man. To be fair to all our viewers, Josh was burning the midnight oil last night at Ibrox, so we'll spare him the bullet for now.
And it was cold. It was cold last night, so you always need an extra hour of sleep after it was cold.
Yeah, I've seen the sleet. It looked particularly bad. And before we look back at that game, gents, just a little bit of housekeeping as ever. If you're watching us on YouTube, just hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already done so, it means that you'll never miss a video when we go live. And if you head over to our Twitter account, we've got a fantastic competition on just now where you can win a Rangers first team jersey, the home shirt. One lucky winner selected at random on Friday at 4 p.m. Just head over to our Twitter account to find the details on that one. Okay, let's look back at the game last night. Rangers, pretty routine 2-0 win over Hibs. James Tavernier opened the scoring from the penalty spot. A blatant penalty kick. It was Nick Walsh had no hesitation to point to the spot. Don't think there could have been any complaints. Tavernier dispatched it coolly and calmly. And Rangers obviously were looking to build on that. They didn't do so. Hibs were looking to frustrate. Rangers then got the second goal through Alfredo Morelos in the second half. And that's how it finished up. Joshua, you were there for us. What were your main takeaways from the game last night?
Yeah, well, I think we should start as well with Hibs were poor. Under Jack Ross, I think Rangers got used to really testing performances against Hibs. But last night, they weren't great. And there was definitely perhaps more opportunity to take advantage of some of their playing out from the back, which was ambitious and not very well carried out. But I think routine win is probably the best summary of it, Derek. It didn't have quite the intensity of Sunday, although I thought it continued in that direction. And you look at the response from the Old Firm, 7 goals and none conceded, and you have to be relatively happy with that. I think there are still some issues that need ironed out. In the first half, there wasn't the repetitive passes between the centre-backs, but I still think when the fullbacks aren't that involved, it can look a little bit stale going forwards. And Morelos, I think what last night showed and the last 2 games have showed is that Morelos is Rangers' most important player in this side for what he does. He allows them to play through pressure. The speed he moved across for the goal. I don't know if you guys remember the chance he had at Hampden, where Paul Hanlon basically outran him, and he just kind of his shot trundled into the hands of Matt Macy.
Yeah.
And the difference in 3 months in him, and Johnny spoke about it a lot, how there was just more than he was offering, is really impressive. And Morelos played 46 passes last night. It's not as if he's just hanging around the penalty area waiting to score. He's been better in and outside the area. So, yeah, that's been the big takeaway for me these past few days. And I think the manager deserves a lot of credit for definitely one of the big wins early on, which is getting Morelos back to, what looks like it could be his 2019 form. Sorry.
Yeah. Johnny, Alfredo Morelos, as Joshua says, was magnificent again, named man of the match again. He's so vital for Rangers, isn't he? He's come back from, I was going to say he's come back from international duty, but since Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has arrived, and Roy Mackay, I think, deserves great credit. He's been back to the vintage Alfredo Morelos, and he's so important for Rangers, isn't he? He could be the difference between winning the title or not. He is that important, isn't he?
Absolutely. Listen, he was sensational last night once again. I thought Hearts, he was absolutely top drawer. 9 out of 10, maybe 8 out of 10 last night. I think that's what you gave him, Joshua, which I think was spot on. He still tends to thrash at finishes, which is something, I feel that if he could just calm down a little bit in front of goal and start to play shots, it would definitely benefit his game. For example, his goal, I didn't think it was unsavable. I thought it was terrible goalkeeping it straight at him. So although it looked like a good finish, I thought Matt Macy had a lot to answer for with that. But irrespective of those slight criticisms, he was physical, he linked up play, he terrorised Ryan Porteous, who we know has been involved in spats with him in the past, but every time he got the ball, Hibs looked really, really, really in trouble. And I just thought it was an excellent performance all round. His link-up play has been really, really sharp in the last couple of games. But the most important thing for me, and this is something I've been going on about in this video, so I'm really glad to see that this is something he's added to his game, is he's making that, and Van Bronckhorst described it as a beeline for the box whenever he lays it off. He's not farting about in the middle of the pitch, watching the action in front of him. He is busting a gut to get into that 6-yard box and put a finish on something. And he's moving about with a much freer physicality around him. He's getting around the pitch. He looks a little bit sharper in almost every area. So yeah, I can only congratulate him and say well done. Listen, he's answering people who have criticised him like me, and he's backed his very best. I think I wrote last night he looks like he's in his 2019 form, and I totally stand by that. That's exactly how he looks. He's back to the Alfredo Morelos of old, and that can be the difference in a title race. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I'm glad that Andrew Barkley is chipped in here. He says, I thought Lundstram was excellent again, so much more fight in him. I wanted to bring him up, Joshua, because, of course, came in from the cold against Hearts on Sunday, put in a good performance, and he put in another very decent showing again last night. What did you make of his performance, and how big a role could he play in the title running?
Yeah, but the interesting thing is I think he put in a couple of these performances back under Gerrard. Maybe these performances have just tipped the scales because it's more than 2 or 3. Just thought he did a lot of dirty work and helped keep pressure on for Rangers. And he is aggressive, snaps into things. Thought the balance between him and Kamara looked better. Obviously, Kamara was more advanced, and there were still a few opportunities around the box that perhaps he didn't quite take advantage of, but in the circumstances, he did pretty well. And I guess the interesting thing is now, what is Van Bronckhorst's first choice midfield? Because I asked him about Arfield playing out there wide right, and Van Bronckhorst kind of alluded to the fact that he doesn't just have to play there, but he can play there. You've also got Ahmed Diallo, who I know he didn't have a good half in the Old Firm, but I think, as I said yesterday, his debut was pretty impressive, and we've not really seen him since. And he's here to play games, so you'd imagine that he'll have to come in soon. So then, what is the first choice midfield 3? Because I think what you've seen in the last couple of games is a bit better balanced than when it was Arfield, Aribo, and Kamara in a couple of games. It didn't quite have the balance it did at the start of Van Bronckhorst era. But I think it's good for Lundstram that he needs character to come and do what he's done in terms of not hit the ground running, face a lot of criticism. And then when he was put in that game against Hearts at the weekend, if he'd had a bad first 20 minutes, he'd have, undoubtedly known about it. But he took his opportunity, as you say, and was good again last night. And I think at the moment it's probably his shirt to lose at the base of midfield. And I think he does, Kamara, I think, can look good there in some games, but I think he's still not that, not that leader at the base of midfield. Sometimes if you think of his best performances, I think they've come off the left of midfield 3, and Lundstram does just give you that bit of bite, I think, in front of the defence that is quite required at points. So yeah, it was good to see him putting another good performance.
He gives you personality as well, guys, which is another element that was sadly lacking when you had that sort of Aribo, Kamara, Arfield 3. Arfield's obviously got experience and personality, but I think Aribo and Kamara are kind of like, they're not quite yet there as individuals that lead the team from that area. I think John Lundstram's an experienced 27-year-old man. Gordon Strachan, when he was Scotland manager, used to always go on about, you want men in the team. And Lundstram's a big, physical, imposing guy, takes no nonsense on the pitch. As you say, Joshua, snaps into tackles. And he's a guy that just gives you that sense of calm if he's in there, because he's going to do a professional job. Stephen Davis does exactly the same thing. He just exudes calm. And Stephen Davis is an interesting one, guys, because he's kind of, everyone's forgotten about him. Yeah. I mean, he's such an important player under Gerrard. I think it's because of his age. People just forget that he's even there. I mean, I'd like to see Stephen Davis introduced in the Annan game to get him back up to speed, because he's too good for me to just be cast aside because he's old. I think he's still got plenty to offer, and I know the competition is incredibly fierce in there, but I think for certain games, Stephen Davis, just giving you that personality, that experience that I'm talking about with Lundstrom, that'll be important for the title race as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned there Ahmed Diallo, Joshua. Johnny, I wanted to touch on this because Alan McCoy said in the Old Firm game he was too lightweight. He never had the best of games. We've not, apart from coming off the bench, we've not really seen him again. Didn't see him last night. There was an opportunity perhaps to replace Ryan Kent. He wasn't brought on. I'd imagine we may see him on Saturday, but is it a case of him just trying to get up to speed with the physicality of Scottish football? It may have taken him a little bit by surprise.
I think it's a difficult one because of his physical profile in some ways. When I saw him at Ross County coming out on the pitch, I have to be honest and say I had slight concerns, because he's a slight guy. So you have to be a really, really, really good footballer to thrive if you're that size in Scottish football. And I thought against Ross County actually proved that he was. But I think there's certain games in Scotland, Aberdeen away, Celtic, Hibs away, Hearts away, I don't think Diallo's going to be the guy for those games, unless it's late in the game when you're looking at hit on the counter-attack. Again, a big part of playing for Rangers is personality. Just touched on it there. You know, he's a young kid. It doesn't matter sometimes how talented you are. If you've got to win the battle, and I know, God, it's a cliche and Josh will be rolling his eyes, but I think we had the perfect example there on last Wednesday, exactly how important, you know, doing the basics can be in football. And if you don't do them, then you can sometimes get stung. And I just think with Ahmed Diallo, he's got a lot to bring to the table still there in these sort of intangible factors. And it's that marriage between Scottish football and his skill set means that I think he might only be really useful in certain games. For example, at games at Ibrox, at games where there's a large pitch where he can actually utilise his pace and his skill and try and get in behind teams.
Yeah,
I would like to stand up for Ahmed Diallo quickly, Derek, if you will, because I think in that, I understand what Johnny's saying, but I think that Ross County game, I was there. They were physical. You know, it's a tight pitch, easy to get crowded out. But I thought he was really intelligent in the way he received the ball. You know, he obviously scored a few minutes into his debut with good movement off the back post. And how often have we seen that lacking from one of the wide forwards in terms of not gambling, not making the move to score. And then, you know, it was his dribble and shot. I think he had 3 at the start of the second half that could have all led to goals, and one did with James Tavernier. So I think it more probably comes into, in terms of these home games, what Rangers are trying to do without the ball with the ball in terms of moving it vertically to the left-hand side. You've seen it with Kent a lot last night. You've seen how often Morelos switched to play. And, you know, Van Bronckhorst always speaks about the different balances. And you know, he said last night that, you know, we had Hadji out there at the start of the season, we had a winger out there, and last night the plan was obviously to have just one kind of 1v1 threat. But I think he needs to come back in soon, and I think he will, and he'll prove really really popular, because technically I thought in that game he just looked, you know, even compared to the way that Ryan Kent was attacking players, I thought Diallo looked a step above on that technical level. So I'd be hopeful. I don't know if Annan is the game for him. But yeah, I just thought it was worth mentioning. Ross County is a tight pitch, aggressive, you know, big aggressive team, and I actually thought there was quite a few occasions where he used the physical challenge to his benefit, whether that be trying to commit a man and nipping into the space behind it or whatnot. So yeah, mate, I wouldn't have too many reservations playing him at Tannadice, put it that way. And I think that's one thing that you've seen Celtic doing in their running. They often, I think, Rangers have fallen into the trap at times and you can say this happened in the Old Firm, but Rangers didn't attack. You do have to win battles at points, but yeah, you need to go and outplay teams. Yesterday, Joe Rebo was asked, if you match teams' energies, or he said, if we match the team's energies, then our talent should show through. And I think there is a risk sometimes of overdoing the other element of it.
Yeah, good question that's come in from JT. I wanted to address. Morning, lads. How do you feel Ramsey is settling in so far? He came on last night again on the 75-minute mark. Another cameo. Johnny, it looks like he's short of match sharpness. I can see why. I mean, I asked Giovanni Van Bronckhorst if he's ready to start. He's clearly not. Do you expect to perhaps maybe see him start at Annan? Rangers need to... I mean, he's only here for another 12 league games, so the quicker he gets up to speed, the better.
I think he's got to start against Annan. I was going to say Aaron there, because you need to get him ready and fit and firing ASAP. I mean, he's not been brought in to sit on the bench or to make up part of the squad.
No.
Clearly, the player himself thinks he's going to be playing, given what he tweeted last night, saying looking forward to the Scottish Cup or whatever with a wee timer. So he obviously thinks he's going to get in and be able to build up minutes, and I'm sure they have a plan for him. The big question for me is not whether or not Aaron Ramsey starts and when and whether or not he gets in this team. Of course he does. The question is, how do they fit him into the team, and what does it mean for the rest of the midfield? I think for some games, Ibrox, it'll be Ramsey, Aribo, and then with someone sitting, whether that be Lundstrom or Kamara, depending on who's in top form. And I think in other games, it'll be Ramsey with two sitters. I don't know what you guys think on that, but there is so much competition in that midfield area, as evidenced by what I was talking about earlier with Stephen Davis just kind of disappearing off the radar in terms of discussions around who should play and when and where.
Yeah,
but Ramsey, it's just not even a question. If he's fit, he's in. That just seems obvious.
Yeah, our good friend Terry Monroe says on the plastic pitch, Joshua, would you have any concerns playing them on that surface?
I don't know if that used to be a thing that certain players didn't play on plastic pitches, but who knows? I like Johnny says, I wouldn't imagine he'd have kind of built up expectation if the plan wasn't for him to play. I agree. I actually forgot. You forget there's only 12 league games left, whatever. Someone was telling me that last night, and in my mind, we've still got 25 games to go or something. But you kind of forget mid-season how, it's only a few months away. And the thing is with Ahmad and Ramsey, they've been brought in to impact things now. But also you have to take into consideration someone like Scott Arfield, who, had a goal ruled out for offside last night that I don't think was offside, and has been excellent in these last few games. But Ramsey needs to play. Equally, there would be nothing worse than if he'd come on or he'd started last night and injured himself and was back at square one. So I think probably a little bit of a frustrating one, but I'm sure the club will just be trying to make it as safe a process as possible. And as for the balance, when he does come in, it's a good problem to have, isn't it? But yeah, absolutely plays. He's not really showing. You can tell he's not match sharp, is it that way, when he's come on to games. But he's also come on to games when they've kind of been dead rubber, 20 minutes to go, the game's already won. More about ball retention. So I'd be hopeful to see him at Annan, and then that'll, because Dortmund is surely a game that you want him playing in a week today.
Yeah, Johnny, the sort of disappointment from last night, of course, was the injury sustained by Leon Balogun. We're not quite sure the extent of that. We should find out later today. All fingers crossed with regards to him. He came back. He looked at his dominant self on Sunday, and likewise for the first 12 minutes on Wednesday night. Borna Barisic came on and he looked lost. He looks short of confidence. He really is struggling. And Rangers looked a completely different team, more shaky at the back. It's vital he gets back fit again, isn't it? Because Rangers are light in that department. I'm not too sure Borna Barisic at left back is a decent option just now. I'm not too sure if perhaps Jack Simpson would be a better bet at centre back and Calvin Bassey at left back. Oh,
I totally agree with you. I mean, Borna. I mean, the one thing I'd ask Joshua, very briefly, Joshua, if you can be, because I want to come back to this point. Is there a reason that Borna Barisic that you can see is standing off and allowing players to run at him and giving them so much space?
I think
Isn't it just a lack of confidence he's worried they're going to go past them?
I think a little bit, but I think the only thing is you've seen sometimes in the Old Firm, there was a runner coming inside him because, as we explained on the site, Kent was trying to cut the passing lanes, which you don't really probably appreciate. But last night there was a few occasions as well where he didn't stick tight and, and he dived in and that got a yellow card, didn't he?
He was totally overloaded. So I think some of the criticism was perhaps a little bit unfair watching the Old Firm game back, because he was cast adrift, really, wasn't he? He wasn't helped out. But last night I thought it was odd to see against Hibs, Borna, a player running down the wing and Borna sort of backtracking 5 yards away rather than engaging high up the pitch. It was an interesting one. I think he's a Croatian international, but we've seen this before. He's a streaky player. Yep. He's a confidence player. He needs an arm around the shoulder and told he's great. Obviously, it seems that he's a guy that just needs to feel good for him to perform out on the pitch. And I suppose the only way you can do that is by slowly but surely building his confidence back up. Gio talked about it last night, didn't he, after the game, Josh? And I think Barisic should play against Annan. Just a great game to just get him back in. 90 minutes should be routine and allow him to try and get everything going again. Because there's no doubt he's a quality player there. He's a better player than Calvin Bassey. I mean, that's
not right now. He's not.
No. I totally agree with you. But I'm talking about in terms of skill set. I think he's a better player than Calvin Bassey at the moment. So you really want him to be at his best. But as you say, Derek, you're absolutely right. Not at the moment, he's not.
Yeah. Okay, folks, I think that'll do us there. Thanks to everyone interacting with the show, as ever. It is very much appreciated. If you've not already done so, if you're watching us on YouTube, just hit that subscribe button. You'll never miss a video when we go live. And also, if you want to take advantage of the Rangers Review site, we very much urge you to do so. Just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe. Only £2.99 a month to support top quality journalism covering the club you love. And remember, we've got that fantastic competition on just now. If you head over to our Twitter account, you can win a Rangers home jersey. A lucky winner is selected at random at 4 p.m. on Friday. Okay, folks, that'll do us here. Thanks very much as ever. We'll be back again tomorrow to look ahead to that Scottish Cup tie. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Thursday.